Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 13, National Football League, or as I have dubbed it, Showdown Sunday, or AKA Line in the Sand Sunday in the National Football League. Look, a lot of matchups. Every single matchup, every single team in the National Football League had a game this weekend. Bye weeks are done. Every team is ready to go for the rest of the season. And so I felt like this week right here, week 13, pitted two teams against each other in every single game that had something to prove either to themselves or to each other or to the rest of the league. And so it was Showdown Sunday for me. This was a huge matchup. In the NFC West, a little bit of family business. Rams traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. Rams clinging to a ray of hope. Just a slim hope of making the postseason. Again, rough start to their year with the Sam Bradford injury and all of the things that they've had to endure. They're still hanging on to a ray of hope, but they've been playing a lot better football of late. They've been playing confident as a team, running the football, good special teams. Tavon Austin starting to break out. Kellen Clemens not being asked to do as much, not turning the football over. This is a dangerous team that beat this same San Francisco 49ers team a season ago and tied them in this very game a season ago in San Francisco. So they feel like, hey, if we could go out here, prove to everyone that we're not just some flash in the pan, that we can get it done. Our defense can come out here, dominate, get after the quarterback, force them into some mistakes, score enough points and win this game. Well, we'll be right in the thick of things in this playoff hunt in the NFC. If you're the San Francisco 49ers, what you have to prove in this game is simple. Hey, look, we've been to the Super Bowl, or at least to the point where we should have been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years. 2 years ago, you were ousted in the NFC Championship game at home by the Giants. Last year, you go to the Super Bowl, fall 1 or 2 plays away from winning that Super Bowl. You feel like this is your time. I've put in the work. I've suffered all of the things that I've needed to go through to put myself in a position to win. It's my time now. And so we know how this thing goes in the National Football League. The hot team at the end of the season is usually who's rewarded with a Lombardi trophy when it's all said and done. So if you're the 49ers, forget about all the struggles early in the season. Forget about this little mid-season malaise you went through. If you can get it on right now, if you can turn that switch on, if you can get hot, you're starting to get healthy. Crabtree playing his first game of the season. If you can get everybody on the same page at the right time, if Colin Kaepernick can drown out all of the external forces and factors that have been going around, all the noise outside of the locker room, if he can drown that out and play some consistent football, if the 49ers can get back to running the football, this is still a top 5 defense in the National Football League. This is a dangerous team. And if they get it clicking on all cylinders, look out for the 49ers. So if you're the 49ers, you're here to say, hey, forget about the Arizona Cardinals and them breathing down our neck in our own division. We're still got our eyes set on the Seattle Seahawks. They're not out of the water yet. They got a tough schedule coming up here in a little bit. We still got them at our place. We're not conceding anything. We're going out. We're going to finish this season strong and let the chips fall where they may. But we got to take care of a little bit of business. And we're here to show the rest of the league that until someone takes the NFC Championship title from us, we are the representatives from this conference, and it will remain that way if we've got anything to say about it. So this is a huge game for the San Francisco 49ers, coming off of that impressive victory on Monday Night Football. Let's see how they were able to fare at home versus a very, very gritty St. Louis Rams football team. And I thought that early in this game, the 49ers came out, established themselves as the dominant football team, which is what you want to do when you're playing against a team that you feel that you should be able to handle at home. You need to come out, establish yourself early. They were able to do that. They got an early field goal. They really took it to them defensively, did this 49ers team. They really took it to the Rams. And the Rams offensively, what you have to do, much like I talked about with the Jets, when you play the Rams, you don't feel like Kellen Clemens can beat you, do you? Absolutely not. And so what really struck me as odd is that for the last couple of weeks, that beatdown that the Rams gave to the Colts in their own stadium and that beatdown that they handed the Bears a week ago is that teams were allowing Kellen Clemens to get off the hook. They weren't making Kellen Clemens beat them. They allowed the special teams to chip in. They allowed the running game to be dominant. And they allowed Kellen Clemens to take a back seat to the rest of the team performing at an extremely high level and allowed him to minimize his role in the win so that he couldn't make mistakes and they won football games in convincing fashion. If I'm the 49ers, I take a look at those two football games and I say, what's the one thing that these teams didn't do? They didn't make Kellen Clemens have to beat him. And so if I'm the 49ers, the game plan is simple. Stop the run. Don't let Zach Stacy or Benny Cunningham or whoever else, Isaiah Peed, anybody else they want to put in the football game. Don't let those guys get me. Stop the run. Don't let Tavon Austin have an 80-yard touchdown on special teams, nor when he touches the football on offense. Don't let him have an explosive play. Make Kellen Clemens beat me. Because I don't think he can. And the numbers bear that out. Make Kellen Clemens beat me. And if you are the 49ers, that's what you needed to do. And I thought that's what they did a great job of in this game. Taking away what the Rams wanted to do and what they have been doing best of late, running the football, controlling the clock and the tempo of the game, having special teams have their input on the outcome of the game as well. 49ers took all of that away. We know the 49ers have a outstanding coverage unit on special teams. We know that the 49ers can stop the run with the best of them. They smothered Alfred Morris in that Redskins #1 ranked offense in terms of running the football a week ago on Monday Night Football. They did the same thing to this Rams offense that had been lights out running the football of late. And they made Kellen Clemens beat them. And that's what you need to do, and that's what they did, and he could not do it. He was not up to the task. I thought early on that was what really set the tempo in this game because they were able to get a field goal early. They were able to run the football down the field. Kaepernick was sharp, getting the ball out of his hands, finding open targets that got down the field. They were able to get in the end zone. It was 10-0. I thought they were going to run away with this game, but again, this Rams team is no pushover. The 49ers know that. They know these guys all too well. Of course, it's family business. They knew they weren't going to run away with this game. The Rams hung in, and they got field goals of their own. But again, we know the story here. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Rams weren't able to get touchdowns on possessions. Had to settle for some field goals. They had opportunities to make plays in this game. You got Givens with the defender on the ground, and Kellen Clemens gives him an opportunity to make a play. He's got to come down with that football. If he catches that football and is able to get on his feet, he probably scores a touchdown. He probably scores a touchdown right there. And if he can score a touchdown, we've got a different ballgame. We've got a different ballgame because if I'm not mistaken, at that point, either the score was 10-6 or it was 10-3. Either way, you're either talking about a tied ball game or a ball game where you take the lead on that play. And so Givens has to come up with that play. Has to. And that was a huge play in that game. He didn't come down with it. You punt the football. 49ers assume control. Vernon Davis, he reminds us in certain games, he just continues to remind us why he's one of the best and premier pass-catching tight ends in the National Football League. That touchdown, that leap over those defenders. I mean, that's athleticism at its best right there. I mean, that guy is a specimen. He was huge in this game. He was dominant. And so he proved to be too much for the Rams to be able to handle. And Kellen Clemens ultimately did turn it over at the end of this ball game. But I feel like the game was already, had been decided. He just didn't play up to the level that his team needed him to. And again, he wasn't being asked to have to do that. He was okay with being under 50% completion percentage because the running game was stellar and the special teams was chipping in. But now in this game, he couldn't afford to be 11 for 24 for a touchdown and an interception. He needed to be better than that. 49ers knew he couldn't do that against their defense, and that proved to be the difference in this game. I thought the 49ers did a little bit of everything. Crabtree had one good catch in this game. Minimal impact, but again, what did you expect him to do in his first game back? He had a minimal impact. He'll get better. He'll get stronger. He'll become more of a focal point of this offense as he continues to get acclimated back to this offensive attack for the 49ers. This is a dangerous 49ers team coming down the stretch. And what they did on Showdown Sunday was they proved that, hey, we're not going anywhere. And you also could argue that, their playoff life was on the line in this game because, again, Arizona right there. And Carolina is probably going to have one of those. Again, the loser of that NFC South division is going to command a playoff berth. So whether it's Carolina or it's New Orleans, whoever does not win that division is probably going to be your 5th or 6th seed, because we don't know how well, the other teams looking to get into the postseason are going to play down the stretch. But you got to assume that one of those wild card berths in the NFC is already spoken for. So if you're San Francisco, if you're Arizona, if you're Philadelphia, Dallas, you got to play your best football down the stretch, because a 2-game slide at the end of this season could be the difference between you getting in and you being on the outside looking in with a 10-6 or a 9-7 mark. So for these teams that are playing extremely good football but haven't, clinched anything or don't have a division where they're winning or have a chance to win, because right now looks like Seattle is running away with this thing. But if you're 49ers, you say, hey, look, you got the Saints on Monday night. We still got you once. You could slip up conceivably somewhere in this division one more time and fall to 12-4 in the season. If you're the 49ers, all you can do is worry about yourself. Win your games. Make sure you do what you need to do to put yourself in a position to make it to the postseason. Whether you win a division or you get in as a wild card, you just need a ticket to the dance. And you got to take care of business, and you took care of business in this game versus the Rams. Not much more to say other than you did what you were supposed to do the way you were supposed to do it, in dominating fashion. This was a dominating effort defensively. Offensively, they're starting to figure some things out. This is a dangerous 49ers team. If you're the Rams, look, Kellen Clemens isn't going to win you many games. Now, what he hasn't done is he hasn't lost you many games since he's taken over as your starter due to the Sam Bradford injury. But I tell you what, he's not going to win you a lot of games. You saw that here against San Francisco, and it's just tough because this team is good enough defensively, and I think offensively they've got pieces. They're good enough to probably make a run at the postseason this year. But with Kellen Clemens at the quarterback position, it's not going to happen. That's for certain. So tough loss for the Rams, but an even better win for the San Francisco 49ers. They get to 8-4 on the season. Rams drop to 5-7 on the year. And again, this would have been a huge win for the Rams. Would have gotten them back to 500 on the season. Really put them in a position down the stretch to have some say-so in this NFC wildcard race. Instead, they dropped to 5-7. And again, their hopes of making this playoff, it continues to dwindle with every loss on the season. And at 5-7, with the teams playing so well in the NFC. Again, if you're in the AFC and you're 5-7, you're still right around that playoff hunt. But in the NFC, with Dallas and Philly both at 7-5, with Chicago at 6-6, with Carolina at 9-3, with San Francisco at 8-4, with Arizona at 7-5. It's tough because you've got to leapfrog so many teams that are playing good football to get in. Your playoff hopes have just about been dashed with this loss at San Francisco. So that's going to do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. That happens in the National Football League. Whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Continue to join me as I continue to break down week number 13, a.k.a. Line in the Sand Sunday, a.k.a. Showdown Sunday in the National Football League.